A lot to talk about on today's show and a lot to get into with our next guest, the co-founder of MustReadTexas.com, GOP political strategist, Matt Mackowiak. Matt, good morning. How's it going?
Hey, Chad. Good morning. Great.
Appreciate you coming on today. It's going to be a big week as far as 2016 and Republican candidates go. Rand Paul's supposed to announce tomorrow that he's going to be running for president, make everything official. What does Rand Paul jumping into this thing officially mean to the race, and how does he, I guess, navigate the waters being the libertarian that he is in this Republican field?
Yeah, I mean, he is, in a way, the most intriguing candidate in the field. I really can't tell if he's going to, build a broad coalition and be a real threat for the nomination, or if he's going to flame out and not be much of a factor. It'll be interesting to see the stagecraft of his event tomorrow in Louisville. It sounds like the entire Commonwealth of Kentucky is really united behind him. They haven't had a first-tier presidential candidate in like 171 years or something like that. Look, I mean, he starts with most of the coalition that his dad, the base that his dad had. And, that's not insignificant. His dad almost won the Iowa straw poll 4 years ago, narrowly losing to Michelle Bachmann. It's a serious, legitimate base of voters in Iowa. And so, but he's also spent his entire first term in the Senate, his first 4 years in the Senate, really trying to attract new voters to the Republican Party. And I think most Republicans really appreciate his efforts in that regard, working to bring, young voters in and minority voters in, talking about issues Republicans don't generally talk about. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting. He's doing this event in Louisville tomorrow, and then I think he's going to all 4 early states for the 4 days after that. So he's going to get a lot of media attention over the next week and probably raise, several $1 million, and we'll kind of see where he is at the end of the week and be able to judge whether his polling numbers have gone up and put him in the first tier.
You brought up Rand Paul's father, Ron Paul, who, there's a significant amount of people out there who love Ron Paul, but Ron Paul's also said some pretty off-the-wall stuff, including, just recently within the last year or two. Are some of the things that Ron Paul, the things that he said, is that going to impact Rand Paul, and is that even fair to hold Rand Paul accountable for what his dad says?
Well, look, I think that when you have a family that's in politics, I think it is fair. If you look at Ted Cruz's father, he's not necessarily in politics, but he speaks at political events all over the country.
Right.
And sometimes he acts as a surrogate for his son. So I think he's fair game. I think obviously Bush 41, Jeb's father, and Bush 43, Jeb's brother, are fair game. And I think that Ron Paul's fair game. Now, is everything Ron Paul say, representative of what Rand Paul thinks? No. And it'll be up to Rand to explain that. He starts with most of Ron Paul's base because he's, presumed to be the kind of libertarian his father was. But he's really moved into sort of the mainstream of the party on a lot of issues. And he's really worked to help the party in a lot of things, going to Detroit to open an RNC office, endorsing Mitch McConnell in his primary race, raising money for the party. So, yeah, I think his father does present some problems for him. But it's going to be up to him to continue to remind people that he's a different candidate. He has different views, different experience, and that he's more practical than his father is. I think he's shown that over the last 4 years.
Visiting with Matt Mackowiak. Matt, I think later this week, Marco Rubio is supposed to announce, correct?
Yeah, a week from today, Monday in Miami.
Okay. What Rubio jumping in, he's another interesting candidate because he sort of brings a little bit of that Tea Party flair, but he's more, if you look at him, he also brings the establishment flair into the race as well. He's one of those maybe divided candidates that can kind of bring both sides together on some of the issues. What do you expect out of a Rubio race when he announces?
Yeah, Rubio's a very interesting case because if he had Florida to himself without, Jeb running, I think there's a chance he might be the front runner overall. The the interesting thing about Rubio is I think he's probably one of our strongest communicators in our party. He's got a great personal story. He's a down-the-line, rock-ribbed conservative on everything except perhaps immigration, where he's, I think, really learned his lesson and sort of moved, in the direction of the base over the last 2 years. So the question is going to be, can he raise enough money to be a first-tier candidate, particularly since he'll be limited in Florida by Jeb? And then, does he have a chance to win one of the early states? And, I think he's going to acquit himself very well in the debates. I think he's going to, probably put a pretty good announcement event together. He's a very compelling candidate, but as I look at it, I just sort of wonder, where does he win, one of the early states, and what is his path to nomination? I think he's a strong candidate. I think he'd be a strong nominee. I kind of wish he wasn't running this time, because I don't know that it's helpful to have two people from Florida running that had such similar support bases inside their state. But he obviously believes that he has a chance to win, and that this is his time. He's up for the Senate as well. His reelection for the Senate is up, and he has said he will not run for both offices. So at the end of this race, he will either be president, vice president, or a senator, but not more than one at the same time. So that's a shame, because I think the most likely scenarios will be probably none rather than our nominee. I think that's a shame.
Visiting with Matt Mackowiak. Matt, any surprise out there about how Ted Cruz shot up in the polls this past week?
Anytime you get the kind of national media attention that he was getting, you would get a bump. But I think for him to go generally from about 5% to 16% in about a week, I think is, it's more growth than I think most people thought. It shows that him getting in first was very smart. Shows that they did a great job to earn the media attention that they did. He's gotten, huge crowds in these early states. I think he's been now to South Carolina, New Hampshire, and Iowa, all three states in the past, 8 or 9 days. So, yeah, he's had a really, really nice, first, 10 days. The question is, can you sustain it? Can he keep it going? And can he continue to raise the kind of money he needs to raise? I don't think anyone ever doubted he was going to do well, campaigning around these early states and with the grassroots. The question has always been, is he a viable nominee, and can he raise enough money to be a first-year candidate? And so far, I think, they've got to be pretty encouraged.
Who do you think Ted Cruz is going after right now? Is he going, as far as, to try to separate himself from the, obviously the Jeb Bush crowd, is he going after the voters who would vote for Mike Huckabee, Rick Santorum, a Rubio, or a Rand Paul? What type of voter is he trying to appeal to the most right now?
It seems like right now, given that he thinks he has a Tea Party base to start with, he is going after social conservatives and evangelicals. I think the selection of Liberty University is the site for his announcement. His strong comments on religious freedom this week seems clear to me that is definitely what he's going after. And I think he thinks if he has his Tea Party base and he has social conservatives and evangelicals, that he can win Iowa. And if he wins Iowa, he'll be one of the 3 or 4 final candidates. If he goes from there and wins South Carolina, he may be one of the final 2 candidates opposite the establishment frontrunner. So that's what he wants. He wants to get in the finals, kind of get in a sort of a pseudo runoff situation like he did against David Dewhurst in the U.S. Senate primary. He thinks if he does that, he can win it on the debates, he can win it on conservative enthusiasm, and that's, I think, what he's trying to do right now.
That'll be very interesting to see. As we kind of wrap up, I'm sure you've seen the big article. What was it in the Forward Star Telegram about how Texas played a huge role in 2016. And it really is for the state. This is something new, for voters that they're going to see in this state. The state of Texas is going to play a major part, maybe one of the deciding parts in who eventually becomes a Republican nominee, correct?
Yeah, you got a compact, primary schedule to begin with. You have the first, 4 states, Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina, but then you have March 1st, and Texas is the only winner-take-all state, first large winner-take-all state on March 1st. Now, there's, I think, 6 or 8 other southern states that day and what they're calling the SEC primary, but Texas, looms the largest on that day. And so, from my perspective, it'd be very interesting to see if Perry and or Cruz are still alive and viable and active by the time Texas comes around. If they both run, obviously it would be embarrassing not to win Texas. If only one of them's in, presumably they win Texas. They win. If it's winner take all, that's a lot of delegates.
Yeah,
huge advantage, and that's, I'm sure, something Cruz and Perry are both looking at very seriously.
Matt Mackowiak, GOP political strategist, co-founder, mustreadtexas.com. What's going on the website right now?
Yeah, a lot of attention to the House budget that passed 141-5 last week, overwhelming vote. Session's got a little less than 2 months left, so we're kind of heading into the final stretch here. So a lot of coverage on legislative session, a lot of coverage on Perry and Cruz as well in 2016 at mustreadtexas.com.
All right, as always, follow Matt Mackowiak on Twitter at Matt Mackowiak. Matt, thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Chad. Have a great week.
You too. It's Matt Mackowiak, mustreadtexas.com. We'll take the break. We'll be right back here on the Chad Hasty Show.